Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Juan Mendoza. I'm the president of the O-Fourth Ward Business Association. I'm also a commercial lender for Ameris Bank. I'm here today with our executive director, Darryl Johnson. Darryl, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you, Juan?
I'm doing good, thank you. Thanks for your time today, everyone. We really wanted to take this time to talk about some updates that the Business Association has been working on in the community and to touch base on Ordinance 1356. Darryl, could you give us a few updates, kind of what we've been doing this year so far?
So this year has been really awesome as far as being a positive contribution to the community of O-Fourth Ward. We started the Business Association's first internship program, which we graduated our first cohort at this end of this summer, and be looking forward to starting another cohort some time frame around January. We will be starting a O-Fourth Ward mini business association, particularly for our youth, and bringing them into entrepreneurship in the community. And we have been really focused on business advocacy from the MPU level. As we know, the MPU system, which we are a part of, is a very large voice in the community when it comes to business. So our business advocacy support has been strong within the MPU level. Other than that, we hired our first employee of the Business Association. So everyone look forward to an email from Cheyenne Ponder. She will be working with our membership. So she'll be reaching out to some of our members who have gone unnoticed. That's pretty much right now everything that we have going on.
Yeah, awesome. Those are all great things. I know you spoke about the mentorship and internship, which is very important and passionate to us, to be able to give people some real life experiences and give them, a head start or a good start to when they actually go out into the workforce so they can be successful. And I know we have students that were involved in that from Spelman, from Emory, from Morehouse.
Yep.
So all great schools, and we're very excited to be able to connect them with the business community, especially in the O-Fourth Ward. A couple of things that I did want to highlight. We also started our technical assistance program,
correct,
which is to educate. We really wanted to take a more initiative to educate the business community. So these are free resources, not only for the Business Association, but it is on our YouTube page, where anyone can access that if they wanted to look at different topics, whether it be for PPP or professional development, leadership, and we'll be adding some more topics there. We try to do one at least once a month, so feel free to check that out for us. I know we're doing a lot of work with the housing community, which we'll have some more updates here in the future for everybody. And we really kicked it into high drive here with our networking events, at least this year, and being able to bring people back together, the community, business community, leaders and different owners should be able to be in the same room and kind of just discuss on what's going on. Yeah. So very exciting time for us. And as you mentioned, that milestone with getting Cheyenne on here, and very exciting. Well, I appreciate that update. I do want to pivot into Ordinance 1356, which is currently a very hot topic in the community. Could you tell me a little bit about what O-1356 is, and what do you think the reason for it is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So Ordinance 1356, or O-22-1356, was an ordinance that was created to categorize properties as nuisance properties. So basically there were a couple of criteria, normally around cleanliness, structural integrity, and drug activity. Those were the criteria to be put on the nuisance property list preview to this new attention that the ordinance is getting. With the lack of public safety and increase in violent crimes within Atlanta, I believe that the Atlanta City Council decided to take that ordinance and turn it into, to add violent conduct and violent crime to now be something that is a criteria to be considered a nuisance property. The rule is basically, if you have a violent crime or conduct, you will receive a violation. From that violation, you have 24 months to receive another violation. And if you do receive that second violation, the city has the authority to literally padlock your business, which means basically shut your business down. So that's what the ordinance is. This new topic is the amendment, which is now adding violent crime and violent conduct to the list of criteria to be considered a nuisance property.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that clarification there. And again, this is something that hasn't passed yet, but it is something that is in the works and in the process of. So we wanted to make sure to discuss a little bit more about it and talk about more in depth of what it actually looks like. So, we get that the reason is to make the city a better place at the end of the day. And it's just more so of figuring out what that's going to look like. And that's a good segue into our next kind of question on it. And what is the ordinance potential impact on the community?
Well, you see, you hit a valid point. On the positive side of the ordinance, it should facilitate some increase in public safety, which is why I believe the mayor and the city council is in full support of it, because they're literally what I believe is in panic mode with the shootings. I mean, people are being murdered in our streets of Atlanta, and it's so significant that it's an outcry for help. But we also need to understand that this outcry for help has also caused an issue with Buckhead, where Buckhead is considering becoming their own city. And we have to know that if Buckhead becomes its own city, Atlanta's economy, the city of Atlanta's economy, will take a significant impact. So what I believe is happening is that because of that threat to the Atlanta city economy, this ordinance 1356 may be what they believe is an answer to this problem. However, there are certain systems, and I'm not going to drop names on these systems, but there are certain systems that have become weaponized tools to target specific businesses, particularly minority-owned businesses in Atlanta. And the ordinance in its original format, the amendment of the ordinance in its original format, posed this threat as now something that can be used in addition to other tools as another weaponized targeting system for minority businesses. We cannot control what happens outside of our business. We cannot control that. We barely have real control over what happens within our businesses, other than security measures, camera systems, and frisk or pat downs, metal detector wands, those things. But you cannot control the actions and behaviors of individuals who choose violence first, right? And so the impact of Ordinance 1356 is that it will be another tool that then will be used to shut down businesses that are, quote unquote, the undesirable businesses.
Yeah. And so you alluded to some great points there. And one of our biggest concerns that we see coming is the disparate impact that it is a general rule for everybody, but we definitely see it affecting our minority business more through this ordinance, and that's what is something that's very important for us to make sure that we keep that economic consistency going for everybody and opportunities for everybody to be successful, regardless of the area or background that you have. Right. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty with the ordinance. I know you have been able to go to a public meeting to be able to advocate or give some advice on to make the ordinance a more official, amended even more. So could you talk about what that process was like, what your input was at that public meeting, and was it received, and just a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, to throttle back a little bit, when I took over as the executive director of the Business Association, one of the concepts that I discussed was holistic approaches to everything, right? There's a holistic approach to everything that we do. And so when I met with the Public Safety Council at the committee meetings, it was all about, hey, we need to find a holistic approach to dealing with our public safety issues, not a what I believe a retroactive panic approach to dealing with our public safety issues, right? And so when we went to the public safety meetings, we were asking for the opportunity to facilitate how we can make an amendment holistic where it can address these issues with public safety and violent crimes, but it cannot be used as a tool to target particularly minority-owned businesses, which we know some of the systems that have been created do just that. If you go through the Liquor Licensing Review Board, or if you want to get an event put out there, some minority-owned businesses or event organizers go through extra strenuous processes and sometimes disapprovals at certain levels just because they're a minority-owned business. So we have to be realistic about that acknowledgement and then how the ordinance can work. So when we went to the public safety, we said, hey, we would like to give you a list of what we would see written into this amendment if you're going to pass it. Now, we're proactive people. We don't think of things from the perspective of it won't happen. We know that there are two overarching themes right now. And the primary thing that came out of our mayor's mouth was Buckhead. That was the primary thing. Buckhead, Buckhead, Buckhead. Okay? Now, the underlying theme, which I believe exists and is not communicated, is we want to keep minority businesses out of certain communities because we don't like it. Right? I'm going to say that because that's how I feel. There is the overarching thing, which is Buckhead, which I think is where our mayor's mindset is. And then there's this underarching theme that I think powers to be have some more influence than others that can say, hey, we want to facilitate some action to keep undesirable businesses out of our neighborhood. And I don't think that lens of what this ordinance is impacting is just that, yeah, we want to keep Buckhead, but also we want to keep people out we don't want in our neighborhoods, right? And so we worked with the city council on creating parts of legislative that was added to the substitution. One of those things was you need to have a formal investigation. None of this, I walk by and I see something and I call in code enforcement and then now you have a green sticker or whatever new sticker they've created for this ordinance on your door. You need to do a formal investigation and make sure that if you are going to execute this ordinance, that you know it was this business's responsibility of that incident happening. The second thing was a proximity rule, right? We were also talking about what if somebody drive by and decides that they want to shoot up a block? How do you pick which business is responsible for that? So we were able to implement a proximity rule that if the investigation can only happen if it's within 4 feet from your door. 4 feet from your door. So anything outside of 4 feet, you can't investigate us, right? The other thing is these parking lots. Right now, we have an issue with people who are overcharging people for parking, people who hold parking lots hostage to make you pay additional pricing for parking, and they don't actually even own that lot. And if you don't pay this additional pricing, they'll break into your car. So that's a serious issue that affects our businesses and their patrons or their customers, that our customers can't park in parking lots and know that their vehicle is going to be safe. So we wrote in the ordinance to where parking lot owners need to be held responsible for what's happening in their parking lots, not the business, not you left Chris's smoke shop and go into the parking lot and get shot, and it's Chris's smoke shop's responsibility. Mm-hmm. So those were the things that we did to say, hey, if you're going to do this, at least let us get a voice in what you're going to do.
Yeah, those are great input, great recommendations. You know, the formal investigation is so crucial because these incidents can be so impactful on a business's lifespan that you want to be certain that when you make a decision, you've taken a very thorough process and have come up with the right decision. So very important on that first recommendation. The proximity rule is also a great recommendation. We were discussing of certain businesses and situations that we see arising where the business owner has taken all the appropriate steps that is asked of them: security, trained staff, de-escalation, all these wonderful things, and they get someone outside of their business, at some point it is no longer on the business owner, and it turns over to some law enforcement officials. But that that was not clear in the way it was currently being recommended. So that was a great input, and it's just that situation specifically. You're like, hey, I've done everything I can. I kicked them out. In the situation we were talking about, someone was upset because they got kicked out, and they proceeded to shoot into the establishment. And the way it's currently set up is it can technically still be blamed
Correct.
on the business owner when you've done everything in your power as a business owner to do the right thing.
Correct.
So that was a big reason for that recommendation too. And then your third point, which was the
parking lot.
The parking lot. I've experienced it. You've experienced it, where you they're unmanned, and we still see a lot of violent situations going on.
Correct.
And I think it's important to hold these parking lots to the extent as normal businesses, because
Correct.
I guarantee you that parking lot is technically a business, whether the property is in an LLC or you're leasing it through a business and you're growing revenue through that. So I think it's only fair to say, hey, you need to have the appropriate security precautions in place as well,
right,
to contribute to the safety in the community.
Right.
For all.
And one thing I did miss, I sat with a business owner to come up with these amendments because I wanted to make sure that it was from an overarching business association thing, but a particular business that could be impacted by this ordinance. And one of the other things we talked about was this tenant-landlord relationship, where if you get a citation or a code enforcement violation, it can't just go to your landlord and you as a tenant don't know. What we got in there is that, hey, guess what? You have to let the landlord and the tenant know if there's an issue, right? Because a lot of times, I remember, I'm not going to call their name, but I remember a particular lounge that got boarded up, and the landlord boarded them up because they had got a violation. And that lounge did not know. They just came and saw boarded up, padlocked doors, and the landlord was able to execute this without them knowing. So what we got into that amendment was you can't do that anymore. The city has to notify both the landlord and the tenant when these things happen, right?
Right.
And so these are really, really, really good input that helps us from stop being targeted, helps us from not using these tools to weaponize, and use these systems to prevent businesses from thriving, as you just said. These are really good tools. But I do want to make it clear, too, that our support for an ordinance such as this goes as far as wanting our customers and patrons to be safe when they go out. We do not support the other end of it, where they will use this as a tool and weapon against minority-owned businesses. We do not support it from that perspective. But at some point, even you as a business owner, you have to say, hey, I want the people who are coming to have fun at my spot, or come shop and buy clothes at my spot, or coming for a meeting, to know that when they're coming to me, they will leave here alive, because, we know we are safe. And so it's kind of honestly like a catch-22, right? It's like you want people to be safe, but you also don't want this demonizing tool that can be used to mess with me just as much. So we wanted to be proactive.
Yes,
that's the whole point. We wanted to be proactive. Yeah. Well,
I appreciate that, and great to hear about your actual proactiveness and going in person to make sure that you are voicing concerns in the community firsthand, and that's a big thing of what the Business Association is about, so we appreciate that. What do you think the likelihood that this ordinance will pass is?
So I think as we keep pushing it back, it may get pushed back. However, again, we have to be realistic. Buckhead needs to stay in Atlanta. if we lose Buckhead, I foresee our economy crashing because most of our economy comes from Buckhead. And if it's not part of a city of Atlanta, we may see we may see this happen. And so because of that, and the mayor literally saying that he supports his council, he said, he literally said it, I am in full support of my council and the decisions that they're making to try and curb public safety, and we are going after bad actors. And the Mayor Dickens is someone who seems to be about what he says. He's not. I have not seen him tell a lie yet about what he's going to do and when he's going to do it. So because of that, I foresee it being passed. When? I'm not sure. Will it go through a trial? Yes. I believe that just like how we got the opportunity to provide input on how the ordinance is executed, the city council will give other people the opportunity, but they're going to pass it because it's becoming an outcry from the community.
Something's got to be done. Right?
Something has to be done. Correct. Something has to be done.
Okay, and then the last thing I'll kind of pick your brain about is, how can businesses be proactive or prepare for the changes?
Absolutely. The Business Association has prepared a pledge to public safety. That pledge to public safety basically is letting the community know, hey, we want to be involved with the solution, right? And we don't want to be targeted as the problem. And so anyone who owns a business that for some reason may be in the spotlight of being a public safety issue, need to get your security teams up to date, start going to the mayor's nightlife workshops, start getting involved with the public safety meetings, start getting involved with the MPU system, right? Making sure that your camera systems work and that you're working with APD to make sure that these violent offenders are captured as soon as possible. Continue to do what you're doing with your security team as far as pat downs go and making sure that people coming into your establishments aren't carrying weapons on them into your establishment. And then just making sure that at a certain point you protect yourself when incidents are occurring on the street. For instance, if just so happened you kick a patron out of your restaurant or your bar, and they go to the car and get a firearm and bring it back, do what you need to do to secure the business. But getting in firefights with people, we are not law enforcement. That is the law enforcement's job, right? So we have to protect ourselves to a certain extent to know that there is a jurisdiction when it is our responsibility to protect our patrons and when it's the law enforcement's job to come and execute law and order. And so I think from a business perspective, trying your best to do that. If this ordinance passed, just know that the Business Association was able to make sure that it was not a tool to target individuals. Okay? Know the ordinance so you know what your rights are. Formal investigation has to be done. They cannot violate you if the incident was not within 4 feet from your front door. They cannot violate you for incidents that happen in parking lots. That is the responsibility of the parking lot owner or managing owner agent. And your landlord cannot get a violation without you. Both you and your landlord need to be made aware if there's a violation or investigation being conducted. Know the ordinance. So that's all I can give as recommendations.
Educate yourself, and if we can help you discuss through kind of what that looks like. By all means, we're no experts, but we can definitely lend an ear and give feedback based on our experiences and kind of what we've learned so far. Well, Darryl, I appreciate your time. Is there any last messages you want to leave with the community? Yeah, absolutely. If you're in 04th Ward, feel free to join the Business Association. Next year is going to be a tremendously action-packed year where we will be giving way more back to the community than what I believe is expected. I believe that the youth needs to be activated in such a way that we kind of organically make a succession plan for our businesses and make sure that 04th Ward stays a small business community.
So just get involved. Join the membership. You can visit o4wba.com/join. And feel free to join our membership through that. And I look forward to meeting with you and finding out what your needs and wants are.
Awesome. And yes, we also have Instagram at O4WBA, O4WBA, and our Facebook page as well. And that's kind of where we post our events, any updates, different things like that, and constantly updating our website to get that more efficient. And, I agree with you. You hit a point, or you hit a good topic where you're saying, next year is going to be super action packed for us. And, just to shed a little light, Darryl and I, this is our first year in leadership, Darryl ED and myself as president, and just really trying to figure out what direction we want to take the Biz Association in, and make sure that we give back as much as possible to the community, and to make sure we fulfill those expectations. And, anyway, and if anybody's interested in supporting through sponsorships or anything like that helps us do even more great work out in the community. So thank you guys for your time. Feel free to reach out if we can help. Thanks.